Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Hit the thumbs up button. It's much appreciated. Also, subscribe to the channel or tell a friend about the channel. That would be greatly appreciated too. And most importantly, if you want to be notified, one of the first people notified, should I say, when I drop some of this straight game, please hit the bell notification. I'm going to get right into it. The question comes from a young man from Phoenix, Arizona. And the question is why do you think people say that Suge Knight had something to do with the death of Tupac Shakur from now until this day, and even when the murder first happened, basically? Great question, because a lot of those rumors, innuendos, and straight up falsehoods have been repeated, and I understand why. And like I said, if you watch this situation involving Tupac being murdered in Las Vegas, from the inception, from day one, should I say, for those people who were able to unfortunately but fortunately be around and are still around until this day, as to what happened in Vegas, and understand that the reason why is because I think the media, the vast amount of different statements, the different stories that people have been telling, people who you believe would have credibility involving the situation involving Tupac Shakur, because they were either on death row, close to someone on death row, or close to the situation themselves. But more importantly, I would have to say that the reason people thought that Suge had something to do with it was because Suge himself and his lack of transparency. And what I mean by that, like I said, I mean, I can give you, and like I said, I had to do my research also on this one. But if you understand all of the events that actually happened that night in Vegas, right, you can kind of, 2 + 2 has always been 4, and for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so for that reason, in a voluntary statement, Suge gave the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, basically in a voluntary statement, Suge claimed that he never saw the murderers, their car, or had any reason to believe the West Coast rap pair were targets, despite them both being involved in a fight with Orlando Anderson, widely believed to be Tupac's killer, just hours earlier. Detective Becker, who was leading the probe for the Las Vegas Metro Police, was often met with a series of short yes and no answers during their question and answer session on September 11th, 1996. And the detective noted in the files that Suge had failed to meet with him several times to conduct the tape interview. Suge also denied that the murder was part of a long-running East and West Coast rap wars, which escalated into gang violence during the 1990s. Asked why Tupac was gunned down, and Suge said, "I don't understand it to this day." In the interview, Suge, then age 31, boasted about Death Row Records' success, hinting that other labels were jealous. He said, "All labels target Death Row because we sell more records," adding that his competitors want to be recognized. And so basically, I think if you understand that statement that Suge had gave the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, one would understand, after knowing, even today, and knowing and seeing basically what happened on the video, and what happened shortly after, one would have to say that basically, Suge, he was lying. He had his reasons for saying the things that he said, and the reasons why he gave those answers. I mean, and whether he was keeping with some kind of gangster code or not snitching code, or he don't tell or none of those things, like I said. But anybody with common sense, being able to see the video back then of the fight when they jump Orlando Anderson, or being able to see that till this day and hear some of the things that went on in Compton versus, you know, the gang wars and things of that nature. As it was said, basically, you know, the gang wars spilling over into the music business. And so that's the reason why I think people would point to Suge and basically say something's not right. You know, here he was, you know, one of the people who were involved with the incident with Orlando Anderson. And then, you know, sometime later, you know, they were at a stoplight, you know, on Flamingo and Koval in Las Vegas, and somebody roll up and they basically, you know, start shooting. You know, prior to that, nobody, you know, that we know of, you know what I mean, came up to that car or any of the cars that they were dealing with, you know, before that and did anything. So to say that, you know, I don't understand it to this day, basically is being, I wouldn't even say naive, because it's not even naive. It was just, you know, just giving straight up misinformation in regards to that, or any motive that somebody would have to want to come up and shoot them in the car. And so, like I said, a lot of things that Suge Knight said, or didn't say, should I say, you know, when he was questioned by the police officers and the statements that they made, you know, and like the one I just read, would lead you to believe that, you know, something sneaky was happening. You know, Suge had Tupac, you know, killed because of life insurance. You know, Suge had Tupac killed because, you know, he was going to leave death row. You know, or Suge had Tupac killed because, you know, he wanted, you know, to get rich, you know what I mean, off of Tupac, and so on and so forth. And then, like I said, once again, you know, another thing that also confuses it, you know, it was believed to, it was said to be believed that Suge actually saw the people who were in the white Cadillac, according to Keefe D at that particular time, basically saying that when they rolled up on Suge's BMW, that Keefe D said basically that him and Suge locked eyes and they looked eye to eye. And, you know, I guess that's when the shooting started. Now, I don't really know who to believe from that perspective. Like I said, once again, based on, you know, just credibility issues, as you can see with the statement that Suge gave to the Las Vegas Metro Police. And like there was another statement that Keefe D basically gave to I think Las Vegas Police Department, or one of the police departments that had asked him questions in reference to Suge Knight, or in reference to Tupac. And basically Keefe D said, you know, that Suge Knight had Tupac killed because Tupac was going to leave death row, right? And then when confronted, when he gave his proffer agreement, when he kind of confessed to all of the things that went on with the Tupac situation, Keefe D basically confessed that 1996 statement was actually false. Basically, he said, yeah, that was some bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? So now you're dealing with credibility issues with not only Suge Knight, you know, basically from the perspective of playing naive as to the fight that just happened, you know, with a Southside Crip inside of the MGM Grand. And then the statement that Keefe D saying basically, yeah, that Suge had something to do with Tupac's death because Tupac was going to leave death row. And then later recanting on that statement and saying, oh, no, that was some bullshit. You know, I was just saying that when it came time to give his proffer agreement, because basically he had to tell the truth, because if they found out he was lying about anything, then he could be charged in accessory or being complicit with the Tupac case. So one must really truly understand, like I said, you know, at the end of the day, that's why, you know, people would believe that Suge had something to do with it, you know. But I'm here to tell you, Suge didn't have a life insurance on Tupac. Tupac didn't have to leave death row because he wasn't signed to death row. Suge wouldn't have benefited from anything, or had nothing to gain for Tupac with Tupac being killed. You know what I mean? Despite what people have basically speculated, or basically outright spit lies, because they want to keep some kind of little war story going in regards to, or some kind of speculative story in regards to Suge Knight having something to do with Tupac's death. So once again, I'm here to tell you, absolutely positively not. But like I said, what led people to believe that is if you read a lot of the media and the quotes in the media and some of the things that Suge said in the media, it adds to that, that like skepticism from the public eye, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, I'm skeptical about this guy, like he's being evasive, he's not, being honest. He's not being forthcoming. And like I said, once again, saying that, hey, you know what? I love Tupac. I care for Tupac. But when asked questions in regard to trying to help solve Tupac's murder, you know what I mean? He didn't really want to cooperate from that perspective. So, yeah, so that's the reason why, like I said, factually, if you really want to look at it, that's the reason why people would think that Suge Knight actually had something to do with the death of Tupac Shakur, when, like I said, it's simply not true. He had nothing to gain, everything to lose. But, like I said, the media was partly responsible for that. And because back at that time, there was really no social media. So it wasn't about, views versus anything else. It was about, selling newspapers and magazines and things of that nature. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.